Colorado. It's your host, Andrew Lavrins, here with another episode of the Contractors of Colorado podcast. Got an awesome guest today, Kevin Mackey with L&K Environmental. We'll jump in and introduce him in just a second. For now, thank you to our sponsors, Business Foundry, for everything that you do for us. I feel like a broken record when I jump on these podcasts, but I appreciate everything that they do. It's an entrepreneur center. So we've got co-working space, some offices, meeting rooms, anything that you need. There's a beautiful coffee shop upstairs. It's a nonprofit. So please come check us out. We're in Lone Tree. You're all welcome here as my guest anytime. Also, thank you to the Builders Outlet, all your material supply you need up in Denver, cabinets, doors, windows, trim. Give them a call. Tell them we sent you. They'll take care of you. Kevin, how are you today, sir?
Doing great, man. Thanks for having me. I'm excited.
Welcome to the podcast. It's going to be a fun one. I always like to start these off, just humanize you a little bit. Who are you? What do you do for fun? You have a family. Tell me about yourself.
All right. Well, Kevin Mackey, grew up in the Highlands Ranch area. Not originally from Highlands Ranch, moved from California when I was about 6. So I'm about as close to a native as you get anymore.
Yep.
Have 2 kids. One is almost 9. The other one's 11. 2 girls, Kendall, the older one, Layton's the younger one. I've been married almost 12 years to my wife, Laura.
Awesome.
We actually met at the parking lot of the Broncos Stadium. So a little interesting fun fact, and found out that I actually lived down the street from her sister at the time, and we didn't even know each other.
No, sounds awesome.
Yeah. But I actually grew up here playing baseball, played a little bit of college ball over at Mesa State and Grand Junction, and played a little bit of pro ball. After that, I was looking for things to do, and that's kind of how I found the asbestos industry that I'm in now. But obviously we'll get into that in a little bit, but play golf, travel a lot, hang with the family, coach sports, just all around busy stuff.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Just sound like a dad. I'm hot on your heels here.
Yes.
That's awesome. So I'm not going to be able to move forward. I also was a college baseball player. Second baseman? What's your position?
First.
Okay.
I'm a lefty, so
Got it.
options.
All right.
I did.
Okay, cool. Awesome. So now we got that out of the way.
Well, I got to ask now, where'd you play?
I played Kalamazoo College.
Oh,
So
okay.
west side of Michigan.
Oh, yeah.
Tiny little school.
So I played pro ball in Evansville, Indiana. So I
Okay.
played up in Kalamazoo.
Oh, yeah.
So
Yep. We'd go down there all the time for
Mhm.
tournaments and all that stuff.
Yeah.
Awesome. Cool, man. Well, small world. All right. That's enough of the
Yep.
personal side. The audience got to hear a little bit about who you are, but now let's talk about business.
Okay.
What do you do? What are your services? Mold, asbestos, lead.
Mhm.
Tell us all about that.
So yeah, we do asbestos, lead, and mold testing. That's kind of the easiest way to put it. We don't do any remediation. That's one of the questions we get a lot. It's basically a conflict of interest, because I could test whatever and say, oh yeah, you've got mold or asbestos. By the way, I can help you out. I can remove it for you too. So we only do the testing, no removal. We do a lot of residential. We do commercial. Most of our stuff is emergency based, water and fire damage. That's where the majority of our business comes from right now. So yeah, that's kind of the long and the short of what we do.
Yeah. But can you walk me through the process a little bit? Maybe use one of those emergency services. Like, all right, I'm in my house. I wake up to use the bathroom in the middle of the night and oh wow, the dishwasher just destroyed my hardwood in my kitchen. And I call an emergency plumber because some sort of pipe is broken or whatever the situation is that's causing the active water leak. So that, as a consumer, would be my first go-to. Like, let's get the water shut off. So I'm probably calling in an after-hours plumber. When do you come into this, and what does your process look like? When do you work with insurance? Do you work with it?
For sure.
Walk me through it.
Okay. Yeah. So in that particular instance, that's kind of our standard job. So we come in once a restoration company has already been in, generally, because, and this, I guess, goes back to why I got in this industry, is I owned an abatement company to do the actual asbestos removal. I hated that part of it. So, but I knew the industry, so decided to go kind of on the front end and do the testing. And Colorado has one of the stricter asbestos testing policies in the country. So just kind of, so the CDPHE, Colorado Department of Health, they're the ones who regulate it. And basically what they say is no matter the age of the property, it needs to be tested for asbestos before doing removal. And so there's some trigger levels that they have, like square footage and things like that. But that's the main reason I got into it, is because we're doing stuff in houses that are brand new. So it's not, one of the common misconceptions is, oh, they stopped using it, and which they really didn't.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah. I mean, it's rare that you find it in newer building material, but we do find it every once in a while. So that's kind of how I got into it. But going back to your scenario. So let's say you had a dishwasher leaked into your basement. The ceiling needs to be removed. So you call a plumber, they get it fixed. Then a restoration company comes out. They've got to remove the material, dry it out, all those things. Well, before they can remove it, it has to be tested for asbestos. So then they would call us. We come in, take the samples, generate the report. Then, once they get the all clear, then they can go in and remove it. So that's how we're involved. And then we're basically done after that.
Right.
So that we're really kind of a small piece of the puzzle, but a pretty integral part, because, you can get delayed if you're not getting that stuff tested fairly quickly.
What does your times look like on these tests?
So actually on site is relatively a short amount of time, depending on the scope of work, half hour, 45 minutes maybe. But then we take it to the lab. Generally speaking, we'll get results either same day or next day. So it's pretty quick. You're not waiting weeks.
Right.
And there's local labs, so we're not having to ship samples and things like that.
Got it. Awesome. You mentioned you got into this kind of like a means to an end of, hey, it makes it easier on my abatement company. That abatement company, what was your passion to get started in that world? Is it just skills that you had, or you saw an opportunity?
Yeah, saw an opportunity. The asbestos regulations back when I got into it, they were becoming more strict, which was 2008-ish. But I just hated that side of the asbestos industry, the removal. It's just tons of overhead. You need lots of labor, equipment, warehouse. Whereas what I do now, we don't need any of that. So that's what made me make the shift, is I didn't want that side of the industry. This is much more suitable for what, I want to do.
Right. A little bit more in and out.
For sure.
When it comes to billing, what does that look like? Are you a line item on that restoration company's bill, and then they're handling it with the homeowner? Are you working with insurance? What is that?
Both. So a lot of it comes down to the company who called us out. Sometimes they want us to bill them. Other times they want us to just deal with the insurance company. So it's really whatever they want. And then obviously, we do remodels and homeowners call us directly. So we're pretty well-versed in billing just about everybody.
Okay.
It really comes down to whoever's calling us out, how they want it done.
Got it. Is there a preference or a easier path on your end? I mean, we got all the contractors here. If you could speak to them and tell them.
I think in terms of in the restoration side, I don't mind billing the insurance company, just because it's a single bill to them. They usually pay us pretty quick. Whereas if we're billing to a restoration company, they might not be billing theirs out for, another 30, 60 days, depending on the scope of work. So, it can stack up in terms of if it's on their bill, and I don't want them having to fight for our money either. I've got people that are really good at that. They stay on top of it. So I'm cool with us billing insurance companies.
Nice.
Yeah.
Got it. So it's built into your process. You can handle either side. It's really just truly what is more convenient for the end user, which is awesome. I appreciate that. As our goal, Contractors of Colorado, here to professionalize the construction industry, help with all the things that are not the trade themselves. So that's awesome that you've had that foresight of, I might as well make this
For sure
easy to work with.
Yeah.
Another question that's been kind of brewing in my head here. It's a podcast. I invited you on. It's actually an interrogation. One of the questions that I've been having is, if you got the opportunity to talk to homeowners, you have to talk to other contractors, directly here. What do you see in the world of environmental hazards that you would want to take this opportunity to share?
So, based on what I've said already about what the regulation is, the biggest thing that people just, and I don't expect them to know this, is as not being a professional in our industry, is you really are supposed to test just about everything, no matter the age. So the worst thing is once someone has already removed things and then they're like, hey, I went to put a permit in with Arapahoe County or whatever municipality, and they said, show me your asbestos test, and everything's gone. I'm like, well, there's nothing left to test.
Right.
So a lot of times you can be, I mean, a lot of instances where people like they don't know what to do, or it's just basically they have to stop work until they figure out what's going on. So
Right.
time and money is just going out the window. We see this a lot with especially newer flippers.
Yeah.
They don't know what they don't know.
Oh yeah.
And, I've had the state show up on someone's doorstep because they have a dumpster out front and they've said, hey, is this stuff tested? And they're like, well, no. And then they red tag it. And then, it just is costing you an arm and a leg just to get back to where you were. And you're kind of at square one.
Right.
Yeah, I would say that's the most common misconception that I deal with is, oh, well, it's newer, you don't have to test for it. In terms of lead, there's a cutoff. Anything before 1979, you test. Anything after that, you don't. And then mold's difficult because, people, obviously they don't want it in their house. Insurance companies generally don't cover mold remediation. And a lot of times it'll be from, like a slow leak from a pipe, which is also not covered. So they're paying out of pocket. You don't want people to be sick. There's really no standard regulations for mold. I mean, there's guidelines for like the industry, but it's not set in stone of like, you have to do this, as opposed to the asbestos industry. There's a lot more regulations.
Interesting.
Where mold isn't. So at times it can kind of be the wild, wild west.
Yeah. Interesting. So even within what you're testing for, there's different levels of standards. What I'm hearing is the best time to bring you in is the beginning.
For sure.
Okay. So like we're sitting here, we're going through plans, we're doing takeoffs, we're getting our subcontractors lined up to execute on this job, or our in-house guys, and Kevin.
Yep.
Bring you in immediately. There's really no downside to bringing you in because they pay for the service.
For sure. Yeah. And again, I get it from like a remodel standpoint, is if you find asbestos, that's going to blow your budget out of the water to do an abatement. So, what you don't know won't hurt you in a sense, I mean, if you think about it that way, but
mesothelioma, I believe is what
you said that by class action lawsuits all the time for that. But the earlier the better, obviously.
Yeah.
But then even so, there might be certain things where I'm like, no, you don't have to test that. Or then they can make a decision of, well, if this stuff has asbestos, maybe our bid can go a separate direction, or we just won't do everything.
Right.
So yeah, obviously the earlier the better.
At least you have options
For sure.
at that point. A couple things floating around here. I want to hear a story. I imagine there's got to be some good stories that you've walked in on. So I want to hear one of them. But before we jump into the stories, I want to hear what are the harms or the side effects? This might be the dumbest question I've ever asked on our podcast.
Okay.
Why are we testing for this stuff, Kevin?
Okay. So we'll start with asbestos. So if you inhale it like dust, there is a chance that you can get lung cancer, asbestosis, mesothelioma. So there is potential harm. But I will say, if you're not disturbing anything, the harm is almost zero. Nothing's ever zero, but you just never know. So once you start turning it into dust, so like we find it a lot in drywall texture. Well, if it's just on the wall, it's not turning to dust. You start cutting into it with a saw, obviously there's a lot of dust. So you inhale it, there is the potential for cancer, things like that. Now, there's a latency period to where, like, from your first exposure, it's like it could be anywhere from 10 to 40 years. So you can't really pinpoint necessarily where you got it. But not to scare anybody, I will say that the majority of people who get asbestos-related illnesses are smokers and work around it all the time. They call it the synergistic effect if you're also a smoker. It's because obviously your lungs are not as good as everybody else's.
Right.
So I don't want to scare anyone to like, hey, if you cut into a wall, you're getting mesothelioma.
Right.
So it's not binary 1 and 0.
But if your job is to cut into walls,
Absolutely.
and we're going to be doing this every day, it's definitely something we
remodelers, flippers, Yeah. So, I mean, obviously the more that you expose yourself to building materials, the greater the chances, So, and then what was your other question?
Well, let's keep going. Like, mold.
Okay.
Mold can be wild, and then lead.
So mold is interesting because everybody's affected differently.
Yeah.
Obviously, if you've got autoimmune, asthma, you're going to be worse off. But I always use this as an example. So I used to work with a guy who, if we walked into a place that had active mold, his nose would start bleeding. But like I had no issues, but like
Crazy.
his nose would start bleeding. He goes, well, there's mold here. So everybody's body reacts different. And, infants, younger kids, obviously their immune systems aren't, as developed in all of their organs. So in terms of a hazard it's not good to be around it.
Right.
But there's no, if you are living in a house with mold, you're going to have X, Y, and Z. A lot of it is if you have, conditions that are respiratory conditions, you're more susceptible to get illnesses and things like that. But it's also not just respiratory. There's people that they'll get rashes on their body.
Oh yeah.
So
Some people have like cognitive issues where they you hear those stories
like brain fog.
the black mold, and all of a sudden their personality changes.
Absolutely.
What a mystery.
And everybody's different.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Really interesting. What about lead?
So lead is mainly kids because you actually have to ingest it.
Got it.
So where the regulation kind of came from is in like childcare facilities or where, kids are most often. And it's funny because it's not like asbestos is a dust and you can just inhale it, but when it's in the air, whereas lead, like most of the time it's kids like chewing on a window.
This is the joke about like eating paint chips?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
For sure. Or like they used to put it on like toys. So, kids are always putting toys in their mouths, as you know.
I've got a 7-week-old. Anything's fair game.
For sure. So it's mainly kids, but you really have to like ingest the chips.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Interesting. Well, thank you. Thank you for walking me through it. Again, it feels like a silly question, but I knew there's going to be some nuance.
It's really not.
Yeah.
I mean, we get questions about that all the time.
Yeah. The follow-up.
Yep.
The good one.
Okay.
Give me some stories. What do you got? Anything stand out here?
Yeah. I mean, there's always things you run into. And the majority of the time, the things we run into aren't necessarily like asbestos related. It's like the reason that we go in there, like someone just the other day, someone ran a car through a house, but we had to test it for asbestos in the house because it was disturbed. We come across things all the time that's kind of ancillary to our industry, but we're in houses all the time, like hoarders.
Oh yeah.
Bad fires. I mean, I was in a house that had a water damage, but the people were elderly, so they hadn't been downstairs in a while. And it was a sewer backup, as you can imagine. It was real nasty. And I thought they had mold growing up the wall. And I get closer and it was actually flies. It was so black on the wall that it hurt my head. So yeah, we get those treats every once in a while.
Yeah.
And then from a mold standpoint, one of the worst things I ever saw was, remember when we had the really bad winter, like Christmas of 22 going into 23, it got super cold.
Yep.
So these people had just bought a house and they were looking to remodel it. Well, they hadn't moved in yet. And I don't know if they were on vacation at their old house. Well, a couple weeks had gone by and they didn't know that a bunch of pipes had broke. So them and the contractors go in their house and they can't even open the front door. They're like, what's going on? Well, the water had swelled the wood so much, so they had to break
Oh,
into the
man.
door, and literally every room in the house, floor to ceiling, was covered with mold because it was just water was running
Yeah.
for 2 weeks straight.
Jeez.
Yeah,
Nasty, man.
yeah, water, and obviously you know what fire can do to like a structure, but you'd be surprised how much damage water can do.
Oh, absolutely. And
crazy.
how quick, and a lot of times just irreversible.
Yeah.
You can dry it out, but if
Mhm.
the wood's warped or the drywall's been touched, it's
Yeah.
yeah. Well, that's cool, man. Thank you for sharing. Thank you for sharing these experiences and your knowledge. It's exactly why we want you around here. So one of our preferred members of our community, everybody out there, like if you're doing remodels, you're painting, drywall, anything like that, you know, if you need to be doing these services, especially after this podcast. So thanks again, Kevin. But if you need a point of contact or you're not happy with your point of contact, I mean, meet Kevin. Here you go. So we'll get your contact info into the post and everything like that, and into the description so that everybody can have your contact info. But before we wrap up, I always like to just open the mic up to you. Is there anything you had to come in with today that you wanted to get off your chest, or something that came up while we were talking that you didn't get the opportunity to say?
Not really. I mean, I think we covered the majority of it. What I always tell people is, when in question, test it. Just because it's better safe than sorry. Or call. Like, we're always available, answer questions. We get questions all the time of, hey, do we need to sample this? Does this need to be tested? So just use this as a resource. Like, that's the biggest thing is most people don't know the ins and outs of, what you're supposed to do. As well, they shouldn't. You can't know everything about every industry, but if you have questions, call, email, whatever, we're here for you. That's the biggest thing I would say is just don't hesitate. There's no such thing as a stupid question, especially when it comes to this. I mean, I have people that I work with that I've been working with for, 10 years that are still calling me, hey, do we need to test this? Just because it's better to ask,
Right.
and or sample it rather than not. And then you're dealing with, any sort of, the state, a city that you're just backed up on your permit, and,
Right.
And now nobody's happy.
Logistical issues, or what we should all probably be putting in the forefront is your health. You're sure, yeah, your health. But I get it. I mean, you're business minded. You're sitting there trying to get your project done. It's your investment. All of a sudden, this is going to slow you up. It's easy to justify not doing it, but you can always anchor back to, guys, we can't do this if we're not healthy. This is the stuff that makes you unhealthy.
Yeah.
Let's just build this into our process, make it a non-negotiable, and get it done.
For sure.
Awesome, man. Well, thank you for being here. We've got some fun coming up this week. We got our Contractor Country Club.
That's right.
So every last Friday of the month, we go all over the state, really focused in the Front Range for now, but we're working into the mountains a little bit for some cool retreats that we have planned. But we go golfing as a community. So all the guys and the girls out there, if you're interested, please reach out to Cooper at contractorsofcolorado.com. He's running this initiative, but the Contractor Country Club has been awesome for us. So Kevin, I will see you out there.
Yep.
Every third Tuesday, we also have our contractor meetup. It's a contractor only meetup here at the Business Foundry in Lone Tree. Anywhere from 60 to 100 contractors are showing up to this every month. So please, you are all invited. If you are a contractor or tradesperson, please, if you need any information, again, reach out to us, contact at contractorsofcolorado.com. We'll get you straight to our emails. And then we also do a quarterly event. So at the end of each quarter, look out for our big events, at anywhere from 200 to 300 people. We have a great time. So, Kevin, that's really all I had for today. Thank you for being on here, man. Thank you for being a member of our community. I'm excited to see, you wiggle your way into all these contractors, because a lot of them need your help. And they need the communication. They need the reliability that you provide. So
For sure.
happy to have you here, man.
Awesome. Thanks. I really appreciate it.
Of course. All right. Well, we'll see you next time. We'll get you back on the podcast.
Sounds good.
We'll just talk golf for 2 hours.
You got it.
Like that. Awesome, man.
Thanks.
All right, everybody. Well, that's it for today. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time. Take care.